I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
I'm not going to listen to that kind of stuff.
That man didn't have the decency to make a phone call.
And I'm not going to listen to him being called a thug by you.
Because he's spoiling great games.
I think now kind of a creep.
Alright, hello and welcome to the Angry Football Podcast, where instead of celebrating the beautiful game and all that comes with it, we are going to ceaselessly complain and gripe about very minor and petty things in soccer today. Grrr. Alright, the dust has settled, the fax machines are put away for another few months, and the rusty shutter of the January transfer window finally creaks closed. I'm Ronan and Adam. I'm joined by Adam Dunn.
Hello.
And today we'll be giving you the rundown of all the transfers from the Premier League and our complaints thereof.
Of which there will be lots.
Yeah, quite a few, we imagine anyway. I'm going to start with Stoke, considering they had the biggest signing of the transfer window.
Yep.
18 million, was it?
Yeah, and I see you're not pronouncing his name because you can't. Isn't
yes.
that right?
Just for the ease of everybody at home, Adam's going to pronounce most of the names here, so I avoid any joke here like buffoonery.
Johan Kebab. Yeah, okay, well, I'm not sure if this is 100% right, but Gianelli Imbula?
Yeah, we're going to go with that.
We'll go with that. Imbula.
Imbula.
There's going to be some names we neither of us can pronounce, so we'll just assign names like Steve or Joe.
Anyway, I'm angry about this because one, it's £18 million, and that's a lot of money to spend on one player. Adam, please don't die before the podcast is just started.
I am recovering from a cold, so...
Yes, the winter weather seems to have taken its adverse effect on all of us.
Yes, me, damn weather.
Anyway, but that's an awful lot of money to spend on a player with not that good a track record, really.
Well, he's not got very much Premier League experience, but he is a very young player. He was at Marseille and he was doing very well there. He was linked to a lot of big clubs in England. I know Chelsea were linked with him before, but he went to Porto for big money in the summer, and he hasn't gotten a huge amount of game time, I believe. But so he's gone to Stoke now, and I suppose mainly the reason for the big fee is because he had only been at Porto for 6 months. Yeah,
well, what does it say about a player that's willing to leave somewhere after 6 months? They must be paying him quite a high salary as well.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the more cynical players of the modern age.
Yeah, I mean, it probably doesn't reflect very well on the player, but I suppose there is the Euros coming up, and I suppose Imbula himself will want to play his way into contention for selection to the French national team, I suppose, especially because it's being hosted in France.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing for French players to play in this tournament in their homeland. So I suppose that would be a main reason, I guess.
I know. Where do you think he'll be able to slot into the Stoke team well? From an Irish point, there is Glenn Whelan, who's been the wheelhouse of the Stoke midfield for quite a while. And anyone that's really come through Stoke, Glenn Whelan has seen off. Do you think he'll be able to see off Imbula 18 million?
Well, yeah, I reckon he will. Because I think they sold Nzonzi in the summer.
Yes, he's never been really properly replaced.
Yeah, and then Nzonzi was a mainstay of their midfield for a long time, and they didn't really bring in anyone. They brought in Marco van Ginkel on loan from Chelsea, but he's gone back, and he's gone to PSV Eindhoven, I believe.
Okay.
And so yeah, I would see Imbula as a long term or as a belated replacement for Nzonzi. I think he will slot in there well into that holding midfield role, and he's a good player. He's big, strong, powerful player. So I think he'll have no problems in the Premier League.
Now, if he does perform, maybe we'll finally put down all the doubters of the managerial abilities of Mark Hughes,
who I believe you want to complain about.
Yes, he spent 20 million on Joe. And it's like he didn't.
Joe who?
Exactly.
Just Joe.
He didn't even have a second name. Like, come on, how can you spend 20 million on a player with only one name? And frankly, has underperformed tremendously. He was hyped up to be a fantastic prospect. He was going to be, the next Ronaldinho. He was going to be the next best Brazilian star, and complete flop. I know there's lots of stories of transfer flops out there, but Joe just really gets my goat.
But we do remember him, though.
We do.
We do.
Mainly for just having the one name and not performing at all. Also, how much did Hughes pay for Rocky Santa Cruz?
Rocky Santa Cruz, I can't really remember, but
how much game time did he get at City?
Not a lot.
So a lot of money, not a lot of time.
Yes.
But okay, I will say that it was more a City policy than a Mark Hughes policy to spend a lot of money for squad players, which most managers probably wouldn't do, and that's it. That has kind of gone from City at this stage. So you know what, jury's still out on Mark Hughes. If we'll just base it on if Imbula, is that right?
Imbula. I think it's right.
Okay, if Imbula performs, we can say Mark Hughes is a good manager.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give him that.
We'll give him that. We'll forget about QPR.
Oh God.
Yeah, let's not open that can of worms just yet. So now I want to move on to Everton, who I believe had the second biggest signing of the January transfer window. Do you care to pronounce the name of their new...
If you can bring it up there, because I can't really remember.
Okay.
He came from Lokomotiv Moscow.
Let's go, yeah.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Omar Niasse?
Omar Niasse. Yes. Okay, we're gonna
Omar.
Yes, it's O-U-M-A-R as opposed to O-M.
Omar.
Yeah.
We'll call him Omar.
Omar. Senegal. He's from
Yes,
Senegal. He's after spending the last 2 years at Lokomotiv Moscow. He's got quite a good reputation. He's got quite the eye for goal. But what I want to complain about here, one, he's cost 13.5 million, which I suppose these days is a fair amount for a forward attacking player. But is he really the player that Everton need?
Well, I mean, they could probably do with some cover in the forward areas. I mean, I believe he can play as a striker or a winger.
That's true.
And up front, I mean, in terms of their forward options, I mean, they've got Lukaku.
Who's the next Didier Drogba.
He's a very good player and he's in good form. But
and
apart from that,
Deulofeu.
Deulofeu, who's mainly being played as a winger. Like Morales, he can play as a striker as well, but mainly a winger.
And then I suppose Kone, who is 32 at this stage, so perhaps we're looking at a replacement.
Also, Kone is rubbish.
Yeah, I think he's just there that he was good mates with Martinez at Wigan.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think everyone's seen that. It's like Nico Cranchar and Harry Redknapp.
Yeah.
He's
better love story than Twilight.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like Cranchar is a good player, but you do see it. Managers have an affinity for having certain players in their teams.
Indeed.
And I think this is the case with Kone in the Everton squad. Like, he's an okay striker. He's an okay striker. He'll bang in a few goals, but he's not really
he's not top class.
Yeah, he's not in the top drawer at all. Like compared to Lukaku. Anyway,
Yeah.
So who's my age? Excuse me.
That kind of makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
It's like he's out there playing in the Premier League. What am I doing with my life?
I'm sitting.
Damn you, Lukaku, for being more successful in life than us.
So this, in theory anyway, he can slot in well to the Everton squad, be perhaps forming a partnership with Lukaku going forward, and he is quite dynamic. He can play in the centre forward role or out
on the wings.
Out on the wings as well.
He adds depth really to that forward area, which they did need. But you won't have a big complaint here about defensive players in Everton.
Because Everton have Lukaku and they have Morales and they have Deulofeu, they're not short of attacking options. What they really need is more cover at the back. They need to shore up their defence. And in fairness, they have one of the better defences in the league. And remarkably, they're still conceding goals left, right and centre. If we look, they have two of the best wing backs in Seamus Coleman and Leighton Baines. They have John Stones, who is going to be, well, or so we're told anyway, the next big thing in English defensive football.
We're told that a lot though, so we're sceptical.
We're going to remain as sceptical as ever.
But we do like Stones.
does seem to have all the right things about him. And then they have a captain in Phil Jagielka, who's incredibly experienced.
But
who's been through everything. He should be able to be a stalwart in defence, but Everton just seem to be hemorrhaging goals at this stage.
Well, seeing as we're in the mood for complaining, let's have a few complaints here. Leighton Baines and Seamus Coleman are very good wing backs, but are they probably much better attacking than they are defending?
I'd be inclined to agree with you there. Like they're the best wing backs in the Premier League because they go forward, they create the opportunity for the overlap, they can whip in crosses.
Baines with his magnificent left foot.
Exactly, but if you're pushing up that high, and if your wing backs are getting forward that much, you are leaving yourself exposed. And Jagielka is 33.
He's
obviously
getting a bit old at this stage.
30. I think at this stage we can expect like the best players, particularly the best sort of defensive players, to play to about 35 and still be maintain a reasonable level of skill. Say be in the squad if not starting.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Everton need to address that. Will they sacrifice the attacking wingers and try and save a few more goals? Or, as I'd like to point out, Tim Howard has not been having the best season, really, or last season. It's really seemed to have dropped off for him.
Yeah, he hasn't been in great form recently, although he was very good in the World Cup back in 2014, but since then he hasn't really been fantastic.
And I'd like to remind our listeners that World Cup form does not count towards league form. It's like we need to keep our international careers and our club careers separate. If you look at Robbie Keane, he sort of almost rode the coattails of his international career to a lot more than his club career.
Or the Lord Nicholas Bentner, who has a pretty decent scoring record for Denmark, but
Miroslav Klose as well. I believe he has a modest scoring record across his club career, but he just really seemed to turn it on when he got to play for Germany.
Yeah.
I think Everton's problem would lie in midfield. If they Gareth Barry is 34 at this stage, as we said. He's still got a few more years in him, but I think if they really need a really good holding midfield player, a Francis Coughlin of sorts, to be there. Who, I'll say I'm complimenting an Arsenal player as a Spurs man. That is near sacrilege, but Coughlin is a really good defensive midfielder. He's the thing you should point to young kids and go, hey, you want to defend in midfield? That's how you do it there.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
They did bring in Mohamed Besic after the World Cup.
Yes.
I'm not sure how much his World Cup form contributed towards that move, but I mean, he's been solid, but he hasn't really stood out as a wonderful player, really. And he's probably the main kind of younger defensive midfielder in that team.
Do you think we might be leveling a little too much blame at the players here? Because if you look at Martinez's track record, look at Wigan. They just conceded goal after goal after goal and got relegated. They held on for a few years, sort of based on they had a few good performances.
They held on for a very long time, but to be fair, they didn't really have great players.
There was Chris Kirkland was their goalkeeper.
Oh God. They had Zogbia for a while. They had
Rodiego.
Moses.
They had Emile Heskey. Let's remind everyone that Emile Heskey played his way back into the England squad while playing for Wigan. So let's just let that ruminate with people for a while.
James McCarthy as well.
But on reflection, we think that Nisei is a good signing for Everton going forward. Anyway, it won't fix any of their immediate problems.
It's a good signing, but they probably needed to do more business
defensively anyway.
Defensively, but we may see that in the summer.
Or if
we're skeptical.
New manager might be nice. You never know.
It might be nice.
Okay, our Crystal Palace is our next port of call, and of course their big signing is
Emmanuel Adebayor.
Exactly.
Once of Real Madrid.
Formerly of Man City as well, and Arsenal and Tottenham.
We're not joking. Google it.
Yeah. And what I'd like to point out, I think this is a great fit, Adebayor and Alan Pardew. They're both
equally arrogant.
They both seem to start off really, really well at every club they join and then sort of fade away
as
time goes on. So
Crystal Palace will probably do well enough this season, and then they'll be rubbish next season and probably get relegated.
They did need a good striker though. Like
they did need a good striker.
Like, I think in the last 6 games they scored 1 goal, and the person who scored that was Jan Vertonghen. Yeah, that I don't
Crystal
think that,
Palace legend.
Yeah, never mind that he plays for Spurs, but go on.
Yeah, I mean you know it's bad when your main striker is Connor Wickham. I mean.
No disrespect to Connor Wickham, but
a lot of disrespect to Connor Wickham because he played for Sunderland. A lot of disrespect to him.
I think just when you say no disrespect to or no offence, it's just prefacing a massive disrespect or a lot of abuse. Offense. Yeah. So I think we'll just dispense with that. I'm going to say full offence to Connor Wickham.
Full offence to Connor
Wickham. You're absolutely awful, lad. Get it together.
I mean, I will say that his hold of play has been decent.
So he's a good second striker.
I suppose Zaha and Balassi have been
decent enough.
Have been benefiting from his hold of play, but
you can't push on as a team if you're relying on your midfield to score most of the goals.
And to be fair, they do have a very good midfield. You know, they got Johan Cabaye in the summer, and Zaha and Balassi are 2 really good wingers, and James McArthur is a solid central midfielder as well.
So that they have the players there, but adding Adebayor might be the killer touch that they need to sort of hold up their position in the top half.
Yeah, I mean their form recently has been very poor. They've been on a pretty bad losing streak, which is fairly typical of Alan Pardew teams. I mean, you have a period of good form, and then you just go on a run of losing every single game and drifting towards the relegation zone.
And then you bring in a new manager who loses absolutely every single game.
Yes.
Poor form, Mike Ashley. Also, why has my Sports Direct stuff got here? You said it'd be here on Monday. It is last Friday. It's now Tuesday. Where's my shorts? Where are my shorts, Mike Ashley?
Of course, shorts essential gear for the winter months.
Yeah.
We'll say Adebayor will be a decent signing for Crystal Palace, but it won't stop the inevitable dip in form
and decline
that is typical of an Alan Pardew team.
So remaining sceptical.
Now, and still lots of ill feelings towards Pardew.
Now we're going to go to the very bottom of the table and have a look at the relegation teams, which are the teams that need to do the most and the best business during the January transfer window.
And as much as I hate to say it, my team, Newcastle, a relegation team at the moment.
But silver lining, we think Newcastle have done quite well. Along with Norwich, the 2 relegation teams have made quite a good few signings. In particular, I'm impressed with Newcastle landing John Joe Shelby from relegation rival Swansea, no less.
As a Newcastle fan, I have to say I'm very pleased with the business that's been done, and particularly with John Joe Shelby, who's a player I very much admire. But I still can't understand why Swansea sold him to us. I mean, Swansea are in the thick of this relegation battle as well.
He's one of their most creative players.
He's probably their most creative player.
Yeah,
up there with Sigurdsson.
Yeah. And I think it will do Newcastle a lot of good to have Lord Voldemort on their team. Honestly, if you haven't seen a picture of John Joe Shelby, Google it. It looks like he's never had hair ever.
And if you can find a picture of him with hair, please send it in to us. We'd be very curious to see
what that's like. But Shelby's a good creative player. He should go well with callback, you think, and driving Newcastle's midfield forward, being the only sort of highlight of their team these days, to be honest.
Judging by John Joe Shelby's debut against West Ham, him and callback formed a very good partnership in the centre of midfield by the looks of things, and Shelby was very good in that game. His passing was excellent, and although he didn't get any assists, his passes in the build up to the 2 goals were crucial and very impressive. And we've been kind of missing that player ever since Cabaye left. He's never really been replaced. Somebody who can control the game and pull the strings from midfield. So
distributed to the new winger of Andros Townsend. An expensive enough signing, mind you. He is an England international. He has been frozen out with Spurs. Because he had a fight with a fitness coach in a post-match warm down, and Pochettino froze him out of the squad completely. So I think he's pretty much glad to be out of Spurs. He should bring a lot to Newcastle. He's a very pacey winger. He's able to whip it in.
Yeah.
Mind you, that's probably all that's good about him.
Probably all.
He's pacey and can whip it in, but you can't. That's a decent enough package for a winger, to be honest.
Well, I was very pleased with the signing of Shelby. The jury still remains out on Townsend. I mean, he's a very talented player, and I'm glad that there's more domestic talent coming into the team. But I mean, there is a few question marks over him. But I mean, the reason he wasn't being played at Spurs, it wasn't really for footballing reasons. It was more for personal reasons, like it was his behaviour more so than his actual footballing.
So could he stand to disturb things at Newcastle then?
Well, hopefully not. I mean, the main thing is he seems quite pleased to be there. I mean, judging by his first interviews, but we'll see how well he does. I mean, if he can play to the best of his ability and do it at a consistent level, then we've gotten a very good wide player, which is what the team has been crying out for as well.
So Newcastle looking to claw their way out of the relegation zone, and Norwich looking to stay just above the relegation zone. A good signing in Stephen Naismith.
Yeah, I think that's a signing I was quite impressed with. Stephen Naismith, he's a very hard working player, and he's got some talent to back up the hard work. He'll fight for everything. Like he's the kind of player you'd want in a relegation battle, because when you're down there, a lot of the games can become very scrappy, and Naismith is a player you'd kind of want in those kind of situations.
8.5 million, not cheap from Everton, but
not cheap, no.
But I think a very good piece of business from Norwich, and they're definitely not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah.
Even though their squad's a little all over the place. If I'm perfectly honest, they seem to have a bit of wanderlust about them.
Yeah.
Naismith, was in the game against Liverpool. He was very impressive, despite Norwich not playing particularly well. Really.
Yeah. He got another goal, and that's what that's what Norwich kind of need. They need some Premier League experience, really.
See, they've let Gary Hooper go, and Gary Hooper never really struck me as a Premier League striker. He's a very solid second tier striker. That's why he did so well at Celtic.
Oh.
Yeah, no, sorry, I don't rate the Scottish League highly at all.
No, we don't.
We really, really don't.
In fact, it's quite rubbish.
Yeah. I'd say it's on par with the Championship, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's stretching it a bit. Celtic are on par with some of the Championship squads, and we like the Championship. We think it's super competitive, but the Scottish Premier League does not have any competitiveness about it, really.
Yeah.
So, but Norwich have made quite a few signings. They signed Tim Klose.
Tim Klose from Wolfsburg, who is a pretty good central defender. He's a Swiss international, and Wolfsburg are a very good team as well. The problem with them, I think, is they probably just had too many centre backs. They had too much depth in that central defensive area. So
well, good news for Norwich anyway. We'll see how this progresses, but bad news really for Swansea. Particularly, as we've mentioned, letting John Joe Shelby go, not really signing anyone.
They brought in Leroy Fer, he's a pretty good player, but he's not really the same kind of player as Shelby. He's not going to control the game. He's not going to, dictate the passing and all this. He's a good box to box player, but
he's not in the same mould as Shelby.
He's not in the same mould as
Shelby.
Shelby.
You have a new manager in at Swansea, could be looking to shake things up a bit. He might want these creative, attacking,
probably also
Baltimore players in the squad. Yeah, I'm referring. Well, shall we make a thing where we call attacking players Voldemort style players, or is that a little too presumptuous of us?
It's probably also worth pointing out in relation to Leroy Fer that he doesn't have a great record of keeping teams in the Premier League.
Yeah, he
his first team in the Premier League was Norwich, and they got relegated. Then he went to QPR. They got relegated. Now he's gone to Swansea. So
are we
third time lucky, maybe?
Maybe, or the pattern repeats and they get relegated. Also, terrible news for Aston Villa. Not a single signing. The squad that arguably needed fresh blood to reinvigorate a very lethargic, a very tired, a very lost squad has not brought in a single new player.
I think Villa can probably resign themselves to relegation at this
the
stage. I mean,
writing's on the wall.
they
Really.
should probably start preparing for a season in the Championship.
You never know. It can do some teams good. Like if you look at Newcastle, difficulties this season and last aside, the relegated season seemed to do them a lot of good. It really built team spirit and they bounced back quite well.
The 2 seasons following promotion back to the Premier League were very good. You know, the first season back they finished comfortably mid-table. Then the following season pushed on from there to finish 5th. So and that kind of created a good platform for Premier League survival now.
So maybe Villa can do the same. But in the meantime, sort yourselves out, lads.
Yeah, I mean their squad just isn't good enough. They've got the worst squad in the Premier League at the moment. I think, you know, they survived kind of by the skin of their teeth last season, and then they kind of lost the spine of their team. You know,
It did not help Fabian Delph leaving.
Fabian
And I
Delph.
think that's a big morale loss. Your captain saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to go to Man City." Oh, what? Man City's offering me even more money? See ya.
Yeah, it was
Very
not
cynical.
only the fact that he left, it was also the manner in which he left as well. They also lost Benteke and Vlaar and Cleverly, who was on there.
I would
Shea
rate.
Given.
I'd say Vlaar was probably the biggest loss in a relegation
His
dogfight. You're going to need a good defender. I don't rate Benteke very very highly.
Well, to be fair, he did score a lot of goals.
Score a lot of goals,
so-
but like I've heard on the training pitch, he doesn't. They say he doesn't run that much. He doesn't really take part. He thinks he's a great striker. He doesn't really want to put in the effort when there's no TV cameras around.
He's like a slightly better version of Balotelli. Basically.
Yes. So we'll get on to Liverpool in a minute, but bad news for Villa and the other relegation blighted team, Sunderland, or as written in our notes here, Smelderland,
Or
because
Blunderland.
Sunderland.
Yeah.
I think Sam Allardyce has gone back to his usual thing. He's tossed all his cards on the table and hopes some of them land face up now.
Yeah. I think the thing is with Sunderland is they don't have a great squad. In fact, they're probably the second worst squad on paper in the Premier League. But they've had some truly dreadful squads down through the years, but they always seem to just manage to hang on by the skin of their teeth. They always seem to get very lucky as well.
They do have some decent players in there.
They've brought in, they've got Defoe, who's a very experienced goal scorer.
And they've John O'Shea and Wes Brown, a great
John O'Shea, Wes Brown.
central defender pairing from early 2000s Man United. Who at this stage starting to show signs of age, that they're, let's face it, a fast winger just has a complete rout of the Sunderland defence very easily.
Yeah.
But,
One thing they have been kind of lacking is a bit of creativity in midfield, and they have brought in Tunisian international Wabi Kazri, who's playing for Bordeaux, and he's quite a decent player. You know, he got plenty of goals and assists for Bordeaux down the last few seasons, and so he'll add a bit more pace and creativity to their.
they have let
midfield.
Stephen Fletcher go.
Yeah, let Stephen Fletcher go in. Probably the most bizarre transfer of the window.
On loan.
Fletcher, let me get this right. I'm
Okay.
not, because I didn't just dream this, did I?
No,
Fletcher
you
has
did.
gone to Marseille.
On loan.
Okay.
Following in the footsteps of the great Joey Barton.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this arguably, Fletcher has not been playing all that well, really.
Yeah.
So perhaps it was time to get him out,
Yeah.
even if he is one of their better players. So it's baffling, though. Big Sam Allardyce, he's got a reputation of sort of fighting and scrapping and holding in there.
Yeah. They've brought in Damon Doy on loan
Yeah.
from Trabzonspor. I mean, now he came in at this stage last year to Hull, and he scored about 4 or 5 goals, but he did all right. It wasn't enough to keep Hull up though. Then he went to Trabzonspor and hasn't scored a single goal for them this season. So
Maybe looking for a return to form, and let's not dwell on Jan Kirchhoff. He
Yeah.
didn't have the best starts.
not the best of starts against Tottenham. No.
Look at it this way, only up from here, Jan.
Yeah, I mean, you set the bar
really.
pretty low. I mean,
Yeah.
you can only get better.
So most of the transfer action has been towards the bottom end, is close to relegation. So
yeah,
we
as you'd expect. I mean,
Chelsea. Well,
Chelsea-
that's a totally natural segue there, close to the relegation zone. So one of the big transfers of the year, Pato signed for Chelsea.
Alexander Pato, yeah, once of AC Milan. He
Yeah.
looked very promising back in the day.
No.
He was really pacey striker, scored lots of goals in Milan, but then he just kind of disappeared. He went back to Brazil.
And I think his contract is up at the end of this year, so it is a loan move to Chelsea, we will remind people, so it's clearly a loan with a view to buy at the end of the season. And Pato's return to Europe has been on the cards for a while.
Yeah, he still is quite young. I mean, what is he? He's still only 26 or so.
So he's got definitely a good few years left. He's
been around a long time. You kind of expect him to be older than that, but it's 26. He can still come back to form. We'll see now.
We'll see. Gus Hiddink probably isn't going to stick around after the end of the season at Chelsea. So whoever comes in, they have a good player in Pato.
Yeah.
Presumably, we're going to see the end of Diego Costa. Thankfully.
Hopefully. What a prick.
A disgrace to modern football.
What an asshole. Does anybody like him?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
While we're on the topic of assholes in Chelsea, John Terry.
Yeah, John Terry was released, probably because he's so ugly they just didn't want to see him around the place anymore.
I think Gus Hiddink had to wear sunglasses now and he can't get to the dressing room. But the way I understand it is he wanted a new contract from Chelsea. Chelsea were going to hold out until the end of the season and a new manager came in to offer him a contract, which is understandable from the club's point of view. Yeah. Terry then went public with the Chelsea's alleged bad treatment of him, the club legend that he is. Well, you can't deny that Terry...
Not that John Terry would ever treat anyone badly.
Yeah. So, you haven't been talking to Wayne Bridge lately, have you?
No.
Oh, okay. Tell you what, I'll give you Wayne's number after the show, and I'll let you to slog that one out. I suppose it is always sad to see a player who's played pretty much their entire career at one club go. Person who's been relatively loyal to that club throughout their time there is put in some absolutely stellar performances for that club. At the same time, he's a bit of a dick.
He's a bit of an asshole, yeah.
Yeah, and to throw a hissy fit about this when the club really don't know where they are going forward with just having an interim coach and with arguably the best coach in the world not going to them at the end of the season. We'll get to that later.
Yes.
That they might want to not commit their future to an older player who's in the twilight years of his career.
Yeah, and he hasn't been in great form this season, let's be honest. I mean...
Well, then no one in Chelsea's really been in good form. We can say the same about Nemanja Matic, who I rate really highly.
He's an excellent player, but I don't know. Can anyone really explain why Chelsea has just suddenly become very bad? I mean,
I don't know. The only time this happened to me is in Football Manager, and I don't think that can speak really in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, it's very unusual because they pretty much have the same squad that won the league comfortably last season, and they've just added to that, a few players, a few squad players, Pedro, and a few players like that, So it's pretty much the same title-winning squad, but they've just become absolute rubbish overnight. Yeah.
Not to use the cliche here, but it is an absolute shambles at Chelsea. I think they are safe from relegation. Mind Gus Hiddink in there seems to have steadied the ship a small bit. They're not all over the place.
I do think while the Premier League has become more competitive and the other teams in the league have become stronger, I don't think they've become so significantly stronger that Chelsea have have become that bad in comparison. I mean, it's a very strange situation.
I think it's more a motivation thing than anything really.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, like Jose Mourinho, he's not the person to have at a club long term. And of course there was the fight with the physio. We don't really know what happens to people who aren't players at clubs, to be honest, and there could be a lot of upset behind the doors at Chelsea, and that could have negatively impacted on. It
seems to have caused a lot of friction behind the scenes, so it was probably the right thing just to get rid of Mourinho then. So
we're gonna move to the opposite end of the table to successful clubs.
Successful clubs, yeah.
The clubs we have 4 clubs who are all challenging for the title. Not often. We've been able to say that in recent years. It's pretty much been a 2-horse race.
Yeah, let's start with Arsenal. They've made one signing now, Mohamed El Neni, an Egyptian central defensive midfielder from Basel, I believe.
I think that's good. A lot of people have been criticising Arsene Wenger for not signing someone in midfield. Yeah. So I think pairing him with Coquelin, whose praises I will sing, he's the right type. He's the perfect type of defensive player that you could ask for really in your squad. doing the business day in, day out, that thankless sort of work that I will constantly praise because the mainstream media blatantly ignores it. And if they're going to get praise from someone, it may as well be me.
Yeah, and that looks like it could be a very strong defensive midfield partnership, and it'll give their back four a bit of cover and allow the more attacking players like Sanchez and Ozil and Giroud, Walcott, allow them to have a bit more freedom going forward, which is what Arsene Wenger seems to like his attacking players to do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of freedom and creativity in their play. But down through the years, probably the biggest criticism of Wenger teams has been their defence, and you know he seems to be taking steps to rectify that now.
A little late, mind. They didn't sign any outfield players in the summer transfer period. So, well, better late than never, Arsenal.
Better late than never.
Though hopefully now with all the creativity going forward, they'll leave themselves a little exposed and everyone's just going to get goals on the break.
Hopefully, yeah.
Arsenal relegated 2016 confirmed. In case you haven't guessed, I support Tottenham now.
Well, Leicester will also be hoping for that because they're currently top of the league and putting in a very unlikely title challenge. I mean,
but we have to say they are title contenders.
It's gone to the stage where we have to take them seriously. Like,
what do you mean gotten to the stage? It should, after like 2 or 3 months of them be just winning games week in, week out, and being at the top of the league, people should have been taking them seriously before Christmas. It was ludicrous to not do it then.
And they've made 3 signings in this window.
Don't want to make too many and upset the balance, the good squad that Claudio Ranieri's put together.
When you're doing very well in the league, the squad is very confident. There's good chemistry between the players. You don't want to upset that really by making too many changes. But they've brought in 2 very talented young wingers who look very promising. Demarai Gray, who came from Birmingham, he's still just a teenager, and he looks very promising. He looks like he could, add something to their squad now, but also be a very good player for the future. And another player whose name has escaped me.
Hold on, I'll get it up on the screen. But I will say, Gray is a good signing. I think going forward, it shows that Ranieri's got a lot of plans for Leicester, and he's not just buying stopgap players. Like, for the meantime, he'll definitely be able to help in, rotate out. I think it's important to have depth when it comes to wingers because they do tire the most, being the players that run tirelessly up and down the wings quite a lot. Yeah. So it'd be good to have.
They've also brought in Daniel Amartey from Copenhagen, a young Ghanaian international as well, which will also give them a bit more pace and creativity in their midfield. It seems like it could be a pretty shrewd signing.
Daniel Iverson is their 3rd signing from Esbjerg. Okay, yeah.
He's a goalkeeper anyway, so that'll give him a bit of cover for Kasper Schmeichel.
Well, they have Mark Schwarzer as their backup goalkeeper.
They do indeed, but I believe this new chap is a Danish under-21 international, so he's one for the future as well. Schwarzer is getting a bit old now, so...
Well, as we know from the great Bruce Willis, Brad Friedel to lay people, but you can extend your career as a goalkeeper quite beyond the usual span.
Yeah. So Leicester, I think they've done pretty good business.
We have to say they are front runners for the league at the moment. Man City don't seem to have retained as much form as they have in previous years. Arsenal, I think, are playing at the same level as they have been.
Yeah. Man City, it seems to be a problem of consistency, really. Yeah. I mean, there's some games where they look like world beaters and they'll just rip you apart, and then there's other games where they just look like they're not interested.
Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that these are the best players, the best paid players in the world. And maybe qualifying for the Champions League, getting their league bonuses from finishing in the top 3 is enough for them. They don't have the hunger, say it's the players at Leicester do. Maybe that's a discussion for another day. Now Tottenham have signed one person, not who have they've signed a Shiloh Tracy from Ebbsfleet United.
Sounds like a non-league team.
Yeah, so maybe we're hoping for the Jamie Vardy magic to strike here, but The main problem being that we haven't signed someone as backup to Harry Kane.
Yeah.
If Harry Kane gets injured, there isn't really anyone to step in. Like we signed a Clinton Njie. We're actually not 100% sure how to pronounce.
Steve. We'll call him Steve.
Or maybe just his first name.
Clinton. Okay.
Yeah, because that we can run with that.
Yeah. Okay. Clinton.
Clinton. He hasn't started any games in the Premier League. It's been substitute appearances.
Yeah.
He's played it in Cup and Europa League. So I don't think he's ready to step into Harry Kane's shoes should the moment arrive. We paid a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
So definitely there's a plan going forward. He's highly rated. And then there's the option of playing Son up front, but Son of course plays best on the wing.
He's more of a winger, yeah.
And cuts inside. He can play up front and maybe just use him as a target man, or as a false nine and sort of knock it down. But that would be the main worry for Spurs is not signing someone to back up.
And I believe they were interested in Saido Berahino.
Yeah,
we'll get on to now because this was a bit of a transfer saga as it was in the summer.
Yeah, the West Brom seemed to not want to play Berahino.
But they don't seem to want to sell him either.
Yeah, despite when Spurs, Newcastle and Stoke
all putting in 20 million plus bids for him.
For a player that they're not going to use, and
you'd imagine they'd take the money. Like that's a lot of money for a young player who only has 18 months left on his contract and who they're not playing. I mean,
you think
his value is only going to go down because of his contract situation
and the fact that he's not getting games as well. So
and clearly he doesn't seem to want to be at West Brom either.
Do you think this is at Tony Pulis? This is on Tony Pulis or on the management of West Brom? Really, these are the people who famously let Steve Clarke go.
I believe it's a case of internal politics at West Brom. It's a case the owner doesn't want to sell Berahino because apparently he's a very big fan of him, but if it was in Tony Pulis' hands, he'd probably take the money and he'd cash in on Berahino and strengthen the squad elsewhere. So it seems like there's a bit of tension in behind the scenes at West Brom.
It's ludicrous, to be honest. Now we don't want just petty grudges to mar a player's career. And it's like Berahino clearly has talent. If he was petulant over the transfers in the summer, and we can understand there's bad blood because of that, but it's nothing to to stifle his career over. You've no excuse there. Like if he wants to leave, maybe you can keep him for a while, but you gotta let him leave in the end.
I mean, I know he's still under contract at West Brom and he's their player and they have every right to want to keep him, but I mean sometimes when a player wants to leave, if you're better off cashing in on him. It was that case at Newcastle with Johan Cabaye. I mean, he wanted to leave, he wanted to go to a Champions League club, and I mean, as much as
and now he plays for Crystal
Palace.
Now he's at
Crystal Palace. As much as it pained us Newcastle fans and the ownership in Newcastle to say it probably was better off just cashing in on them, because you don't really want a player who doesn't want to be there. I mean, you got the money, spend it elsewhere, and I mean,
absolutely. They
just move forward, forget about it, and move on.
West Brom, they brought in Alex Pritchard from Tottenham.
He's a good young player, but I was
what's Tony Pulis doing signing him?
I was a bit confused by this because he doesn't really strike me as a Tony Pulis kind of player. He can actually play football.
Yeah, well, he did bring in Sandro.
So QPR.
He could do very well becoming the bishop of the Democratic Republic of defending that Tony
Pulis' teams. Yeah. Richard seems it's an unusual.
Maybe that's what Stoke,
because he's a small, kind of ball playing playmaker, and when I first heard that West Brom were getting him on loan, I kind of thought, is this a kind of a sweetener to in a potential Berahino deal? So maybe in the summer we'll see.
But maybe that's what West Brom need, is a little more attacking muster.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to the rest. Some of the other transfers we want to have an eye on. We'll go to the most overrated team in English football at the moment, with one of the more overrated managers. I feel bad saying that because I rated Jurgen Klopp quite highly when he was at Dortmund.
Liverpool. I was a big fan of Klopp at Dortmund, and I was a big fan of his Dortmund team. I remember when they were in the Champions League final against Bayern Munich, and I was just really hoping Dortmund would win. But yeah, he went to Liverpool, so
Yeah,
yeah,
you have to.
yeah. You used to be cool, man.
But the Liverpool, I think the main one we've got to look at Liverpool is the loan signing from QPR of Stephen Colker.
Stephen Cocker, yeah. Well, they kind of needed that because there was a recent cup game against Exeter or someone, and they had so many injuries to their defence that their centre back pairing had to be Jose Enrique, who's a left back who's hardly played for them over the last 3 years, and Thiago. I can't pronounce his second name, but he's a Portuguese centre back who was on loan at Villa, not even getting any game time at a very poor Villa side, and they had to recall him and throw him into the mix. But so they probably needed a centre back, and
the loan signing was probably best as well. It's stopgap because they do have allegedly decent defenders. Now Sacco was meant to be like the next Patrick Vieira when he came to Liverpool.
Yeah, he was at PSG and he looked very promising, but he wasn't getting much game time.
No, and he made quite a few mistakes, I think, as well.
Dejan Lovren, he was absolutely fantastic at Southampton. What part of a Southampton defence that conceded some of the fewest goals in England, not just the Premier League, in the whole country, and then he went to Liverpool and just became rubbish for some reason.
We don't know why. He might have something to do.
The Chelsea effect, just become rubbish overnight. Yeah, and the Colo Touré. I mean, what else is there to say? He's Colo Touré.
So I think I do want to put in a word about people criticising Jurgen Klopp's style of football, saying it's too high pace, that he's pushing up too high, it's putting too much strain on the defenders.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that Pochettino plays the exact same type of football at Tottenham.
And gets a lot of praise.
Yeah, but I'm more going to put that down as that Klopp's trying to implement that in the middle of a season, whereas Pochettino had an entire half season and an off season to prepare and condition his squad properly for that. So maybe it's just a little too much too soon from Klopp. But we're going to have to wait till next season to see what he can really do with Liverpool.
I think he needs a bit of time to kind of bring in players that suit his style, because I think at the moment he's got Benteke, who's his only real striker. I mean, you got Daniel Sturridge, but I mean, he's always injured. So but Benteke, he's not.
Do they not have Charlie Austin?
Charlie Austin?
No, Danny Ings. Is it? Did they?
Charlie Austin went to Southampton. That was a very good signing, actually. We'll get onto that in a moment. But Danny Ings, he's out for the season with an injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd say Klopp probably needs a bit of time, really.
Yeah. So it remains to be seen. Maybe we'll warm to Liverpool if Klopp does well with them and makes them a little more humble, and perhaps a summary execution of some of their supporters. Just putting this out there as a suggestion,
we're just saying they've got the worst fans in the league.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's all we're saying.
Not pretty much. Absolutely, actually.
And if
Klopp can change that, more power to him.
More power to him. Yeah.
And as I did mention, Charlie Austin, probably one of the better signings of the January window.
An absolute coup, an absolute snip at
Southampton.
4 million. I mean, that's a bargain,
It's actually the player Liverpool should have signed instead of Benteke or Balotelli.
Yeah, he's a very good player. He scored a lot of goals in a very poor QPR team last season. He had one of the best shots to goals ratio, so he's a very clinical player as well. And that was a real bargain for Southampton, and that just gives them more depth up front. Where, to be fair, Graziano, Pele and Shane Long are in good form, so it just adds a bit more competition to a pretty good squad.
Yeah, no, Shane Long good form. I think that the addition of Austin should raise the game on everybody. Now I think Pele will probably have to keep looking over his shoulder with Long getting the opportunity. The first team is really playing out of his skin. Good news for
bodes well for Ireland. The Euro is coming up.
So only one Irish player moved during the transfer window, and that is Aidan McGeady. Moved on loan to Sheffield Wednesday. Now he probably needed that. The game time is absolutely torrid spell at Everton, to be perfectly honest.
He needs that. I mean, he'll get plenty of game time at Sheffield Wednesday.
Even if they are at the wrong end of the championship, just sitting above the relegation, he stands to be playing in the first team pretty much week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, and still championship football. I mean, for an Ireland squad, I mean, that's still pretty good. I
will criticise like the Ireland setup for not looking like trying to get players who aren't playing that much in the Premier League into the Ireland side, as opposed to looking to players who are playing week in, week out at the top end of the championship and playing very well.
Yeah.
Or even at a stretch looking at guys who are playing in the SPL, the Scottish Premier League, because they are playing first team football regularly.
Yeah.
So it might be worthwhile.
And the form can be very important because it contributes to the players' confidence and all that. So a good move for Aidan McGeady anyway.
And Ireland. So our last item anyway is the not player related, but
tonight's fixtures.
I was going to go manager. Transfer. I think we've left out the big one.
Well, I mean, okay. How about we talk about tonight's fixtures? Because there'll be plenty of time to talk about Guardiola. I mean, he's not going to be in
there isn't really much we can say about Guardiola, except for the fact he's going to Chelsea. And
he's going to City.
Oh crap! I said he wasn't going to Chelsea earlier in the podcast, didn't I? Well, so my credibility is just about shot. So we'll go on to the predictions.
Tonight's fixtures, and starting off with
Arsenal Southampton. This is
Arsenal at home. Yeah.
What I'm going to go with a draw.
Yeah.
2-2.
2-2. Southampton, they've got a good squad. They haven't probably playing at their best this season. Arsenal haven't been playing well. I think this could be a score draw because they're two very attacking teams.
All right, and we're
Leicester at home to Liverpool.
Right,
Leicester
to win the league leaders against the Liverpool team that's a bit lacking in defence. So
I think Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez will
3-0.
will really have a go at this really poor Liverpool defence.
Yeah, I'm going to push it out there and say 3-0 to Leicester.
Okay, next up we've got Norwich at home to your team, Spurs.
I'm going to go Spurs to win this. Norwich are playing a bit better with Stephen Naismith arriving. They do have a bit of fire because they're scrapping to stay up, but Tottenham are just a better squad.
They've got too much quality in it.
Even they went down 1-0 to Crystal Palace, they came back to win 3-1. So Norwich might score with Jan Vertonghen gone, so I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs.
2-1, and that'll be a good result for Newcastle.
Yeah. So
next up we've got Sunderland at home to Man City.
Oh, this is no contest. 4-0 Man City. I'm just going to go with it. Sunderland are an absolute shambles at the moment.
Especially in defence. I mean, John O'Shea and Wes Brown are old. Jan Kirchhoff doesn't look great. I mean,
and Aguero's really found some form in the last few years.
Aguero's back in form. Man City will be without Kevin De Bruyne, who picked up an injury in the cup match against Everton the other night. But I think still with like David Silva and Raheem Sterling, they still have too much for Sunderland.
Okay, now
West Ham at home to Villa.
West Ham should win, but I think they've had an outflux of creative players such as Mario Zarate and Diego Poye, which we didn't mention earlier on, but we may as well mention now.
I think
they'll still win.
I think Dimitri Payet, his creativity, he's back from an injury, so he'll bring more pace and creativity to their midfield. They've also signed Emmanuel Adebayor, who's a very big, strong, powerful striker with a good scoring record. So I think they'll have too much for this Villa team.
I'm going to go 1-0.
1-0. Okay. Next
All
up,
right.
we've got Crystal Palace at home to Bournemouth.
I can't see. I'm ready to tip this for a 0-0 draw, to be perfectly honest, even with Adebayor in the Crystal Palace side. Bournemouth are they're difficult to break down sometimes.
Yeah, and they play some good football. They pass it around.
Palace just seem to be on a bad run. Like, this could be the end of it, but I'm going to go 0-0. Nothing's going to happen.
Man United versus Stoke.
Okay, we didn't talk about United in the podcast because nothing's happening.
They're bored. They're so boring. We just forgot about them. They put us to sleep.
Absolutely. So with Stoke, if this was a Tony Pulis Stoke side, I would put my house on a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna
go with a Stoke win here.
Okay, I disagree. I'd say it'd be 1-1, but We'll see. We'll see
I
how
think
this
Stoke
goes.
might just edge it.
Okay. With their new signings.
Yeah.
Okay, West Brom Swansea now.
Swansea haven't been in great form recently. They've sold some. They
Key
sold
players.
probably their best player
So we're
in John
gonna-
Doe Shelby. And West Brom are very defensive. I think this is draw written all over it.
1-1, I'm gonna say. They're not great. They're gonna probably pip a goal at either end. So
Yeah.
now moving on to tomorrow, we've only got 2 fixtures. We've got Everton Newcastle. I'm gonna say draw here as well. Newcastle really are starting to push on a good bit.
Yeah.
They seem to find a
I
bit of
agree.
confidence.
As a Newcastle fan, I think a draw as well, because Everton, they do have some very good attacking players, and Newcastle's probably weak point at the moment is their defence. But I think Newcastle have really added some very good attacking players, like Doumbia, who's really a very pacey striker with an excellent scoring record. You've got Shelby and Townsend, add more quality to the midfield. So I think a score draw here.
Yeah, so we'll go 1-1.
Yeah.
2-2 is possible.
2-2 possibly.
I'm finding Watford Chelsea, so I'm gonna say score draw as well.
Me too,
Watford are not shy in front of goal.
Yeah,
And
Gini
Chelsea-
and Igalo are a good partnership.
Fantastic up front. So I'm gonna go 1-1 here as well.
Yeah.
So.
Hiddink has steadied the ship a bit. I mean, if this was earlier in the season, I'd go for a Watford win.
Oh,
but
absolutely. But no, things are looking
think a
up
draw.
for Chelsea. And, well, that brings us to the end of our podcast. I've been Ronan Meyer,
And I'm Adam Dunn.
and that's been the Angry Football Podcast. And remember,
Grr.
stay mad at absolutely everything that disgusts you about modern football. Thanks for listening. Good night.